two, one, two, three.
Hello and welcome to Ithaca DSA Presents. I'm Theresa Alt. I'm here today with David Alexis. David Alexis is a member of New York City DSA and is very familiar with a campaign that is starting there and going statewide. It is called Tax the Rich 2.0. David, why is it 2.0? It has a history.
Yes, it does. Tax the Rich 2.0 follows this fight that we had originally in 2021 following the COVID pandemic, where New Yorkers had been laid bare with the pandemic, struggling out of work, looking to avoid the austerity measures that at the time Governor Cuomo had been looking to implement to, as they always like to say, tighten the belts. That tends to come with a lot of these conversations around austerity. And as a result of New Yorkers getting involved with the political process, avoid huge cuts to the state budget that, would have had devastating impacts on healthcare, on public services and resources for New Yorkers all over the state. And we were actually able to gain an increase in the budget of 4.3 billion as a result of the new taxes that had been issued upon some of the wealthiest New Yorkers, who, once again, we needed to do this because and we're looking to do this again because once again, New Yorkers are struggling. Inflation has hit us hard. The effects of the pandemic have not gone away, and in order to make sure that New Yorkers can not only just survive but truly thrive and, in a sense, seize our future, we are looking to once again ask the rich to pay their fair share to ensure that all New Yorkers are able to truly thrive, to live, and to also seize, to have a future, a brighter future for us moving forward.
Yes, I have heard about some of this from Anna Kellis, our assembly member here in Ithaca, who actually was involved 2 years ago as a brand new assembly member and introduced one of the bills.
Yeah, that's actually really exciting, because what was really amazing about this is that for a long time, politics here in New York have been more regionalized. Here in the city, it's been all about city politics. Upstate, it's been more focused on upstate. But this was actually a moment where all across the state we had regular folks looking to coordinate our efforts, speaking to legislators all across the way, escalating pressure campaigns, actions up and down the state in the Capitol around ensuring that in order to meet this moment where, once again, the result of people not being able to take care of their basic necessities, seeing that this struggle was intensifying as a result of the pandemic, and again, once again, as a result of inflation, is intensifying again. We realize that once again, we need to ensure that the New York State budget is adequately funded, that when it comes to, once again, getting the rent under control, because the rent's out of control.
Here too.
Yes, is crazy, not only here in the city, but all over New York State. And it's also resulted in the fact that childcare for taking care of children has skyrocketed. Education costs are out of control. So when we talk about many of our students are looking to go get a higher education that's becoming increasingly more difficult, with more and more people becoming saddled with debt. When we talk about even just the cost of energy, all of these things are things that once again should not be put upon, I think, on just regular people looking to, make ends meet.
Yeah. Okay. So what we know is that some of the bills that were offered 2 years ago passed, or to some extent passed.
Yes. And they
And
resulted in about $4.3 billion added.
okay, yeah. And some good things came of that.
Yes. Oh, not only was some of this money went to go fund ERAP, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program,
Uh-huh.
which was very crucial for ensuring that families all across New York who had not been able to pay the rent as a result of being furloughed or not able to work as a result of the pandemic were now able to get subsidies from the government to ensure that they could pay their landlords and stay in their homes and not be forced out on the streets during a global pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Huge. We talk
Yeah,
about the
we were
Excluded
hearing about
Workers.
that here
Oh yeah.
through the
This
tenants union.
yes.
Yeah.
There were tenants unions and housing advocates all across the state who were intensely involved with this process and were really key in ensuring that we got this major win. And once again, many of these same advocates are like going to be involved with this process again because the strategy for Tax the Rich 2.0 is to fight for everything that we need all at once. Not only the increase of these taxes so that we have the money to pay for affordable housing. Once again, we can have social housing. We could have more money for things like for ERAP. We can ensure that housing that we need to kind of get prices down instead of seeing them skyrocket as they do time and again can actually really be addressed. And that's going to be needed to the tons of billions of dollars, the type of investment that we really need to kind of address this housing crisis, right?
Right. I think I heard somewhere that the Excluded Workers Fund also
Yes.
came out of this, and
Yeah.
we heard about it here from the Workers Center.
Yeah.
They were helping with that, helping get the word out to excluded workers.
Absolutely.
But I think we should turn to what's going on this year.
So one of the things that's really exciting about this year is that we are looking to raise about $40 billion in taxes annually through a slate of five different bills that we believe will make all of the difference that's necessary to ensure that we can fund the programs that New Yorkers need. We're talking about housing programs to develop affordable housing, we're talking about childcare to support struggling families who, in order to go back to work, in order to ensure that families can do what they need to do, go to the doctor, these things to get the child care that they need, particularly for families with young children. I can talk about this personally. I have two young children. They're currently 5 and 6 right now, first grade and kindergarten. It's exciting. But I like to talk about childcare because childcare has always been a really hard bar to cross, particularly when my kids were really young. It actually was extremely expensive. I spent hundreds of dollars per week to actually find childcare so that I could actually work. My wife happens to have a sickle cell disease and has been disabled and was not able to take care of them by herself for long stretches of time. So we had to pay for that childcare, and it was like another rent that we had to kind of pay on top
Uh-huh.
of all the expenses that we had. And my story is not unique. It affects thousands of families all across New York, and it's one of the reasons why being able to once again just help New Yorkers just have the basic childcare to take care of their families, and it's one of the initiatives through this push to invest in our New York, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
What not only once again, it's just the right thing to do to help people who are struggling, and especially because we're talking about tens of thousands of family units that are struggling this way. But it also has a lot of positive impacts on on the economy. Once again, if people have childcare, they can go to work, they can go to school, they can do other activities which are productive for New York State and society as a whole. And I think that this is a public good that like many other public goods, like invested in roads, infrastructure, things like this, that it becomes possible when we have funding to fund public services.
Good, yes. And I think here we will especially, well, I think here people need childcare here too, every bit as much as in the city. We need housing here very badly. There is a real
Oh,
shortage,
oh yeah.
especially in Ithaca. And we desperately need better funded public transit here.
Oh yes, yes. These are all funding for all of these things, particularly for supporting different municipalities. And this goes not only just for Ithaca, even the New York City metro system is also directly funded and under the authority of the state. So there are many. So when we talk about electrifying the grid and getting a just transition, a just green transition off of fossil fuels and creating electrifying the grid, getting more public mass transit. These are things that can only be done at the state, for state and, well, I'll be honest, state and federal level funding. But particularly, we have an opportunity right now with with this campaign that we have with Tax Rich, that should we once again just win again, like we've already done, we'll actually be able to fund mass transit all across the way, be able to have a real transition from fossil fuels, and ensure that we can once again power the future. As you know, we know crisis is on its way. We know that by 2030, that the scientists have also mentioned that if we don't reduce emissions and get to by over 70% by 2030, we are going to see huge catastrophic changes in climate that would cause undue amounts of suffering for people. Yeah. Right.
Right. Well, I think we're all pretty much on the same page about what the needs are.
Yes.
And we know that it takes money to meet the needs.
Yes,
but how does this campaign plan to raise the money?
So we have five different bills. We have two that are under the auspices of income tax, making the personal income tax more progressive and less burdensome on the middle class and working people. We have a capital gains tax, which once again, capital gains is how most wealthy individuals make their money. Wealthy individuals get taxed at a lower percentage than working people because they get most of their money through capital gains. So once again, it's just asking them to pay their fair share. We have a business tax, a corporate tax, to ensure that multinational corporations like Starbucks, Google, all the big companies that you hear, they tend to use their pass-through businesses and other income hiding schemes to ensure that they pay less proportional taxes than, let's say, like you or I or even some of their own employees actually pay. It's kind of crazy to know that you can work for a company like Starbucks and as a barista pay more proportional of your income than the company you work for does. Insane, right?
Yeah.
The other pieces include the wealth tax. Two wealth taxes. We talk about a heirs tax that would be implemented on people who are inheriting wealth. Once again, this is not, people say that, oh, you're getting taxed twice, but really you're talking about people who had received this money from someone who's already extremely wealthy. And once again, this is not talking about like your dad happened to have a house and he handed it out to you and that's going to get taxed. We're talking about estates. Most people don't have estates. Estates that are worth over I believe it's over 5 to 10 million in excess. So most not applicable to most folks, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the billionaires tax, which taxes the wealth or the assets that extremely wealthy people have, because assets tend not to really be taxed, and it's just another form of wealth and that wealth people have. They often tend to hide much of their wealth in these intangible assets, or these type of assets, and as a result are able to once again hoard more of the wealth that they have. And once again, it's all about, I think in this case when we talk about these taxes, it's about fairness, because while we talk about everyone taking their fair share. So if we're expecting working people to pay 30-40% of the income that they raise to of the income that they receive to, ensure that New York has what it needs to take care of New Yorkers, why is it that some of the wealthier folks themselves don't have to pay the same proportion or same burden as regular working people? I think it's only fair that they do, as because once again, it's not only working people who benefit from public services, right? The pavement of the roads, all of these tax incentives and investments that public the public puts into a lot of these businesses is, it's a result of what we all put in. So it's very fair to say, hey, okay, well, you did quite well for yourself. Help other people take care of their families and do well for themselves as well. Sharing the wealth, right?
Right.
So
Well, I would actually say we want people to work, and
yes,
people want to work,
yes,
and work creates income which gets taxed.
yes,
Okay. But maybe when people have income that they don't earn because it is interest or dividends or capital gains,
yes,
I think that kind of income that you just sort of falls in your lap should be taxed at a higher rate.
yes. It's funny. We as a country we talk about valuing a hard day of work, something where you work hard, and there's real value in working hard to achieve something, where that type of work is taxed at a higher percentage, rather than the work, as you had mentioned, is very easily gained through leveraging assets and other income and whatnot, which is much more easily gained, which isn't gained through, once again, hard days of labor or hard work, and has a way of multiplying itself, right? Now, no one's saying that, being smart and whatnot, you or as they say, like being smart to earn the money, do what you want, to whatnot, to make ends meet is, or to take care of your family or do well, is anything wrong with that? That's another conversation. Let's
Yes.
just say that's another conversation. I'll put it that way, right? But it doesn't make sense that we would sometimes tax twice as much the labor income generated from labor than income that's generated through like capital gains, through high frequency trading, all of these other forms that once again are not the same.
Inherited.
Yes. And
You
they
don't
and they
necessarily do anything to
they don't
inherit money.
contribute to society in the same way, right? Because we talk about what do we need? We need doctors who provide services, construction workers who build things, farmers who grow things so people can eat, teachers who teach our children, health care workers who take care of our children, all of these things that people do, which offers real value. Even the arts, which provide great value to us as humans to help to enjoy things, as opposed to once again, high frequency trading and a lot of finance, which goal is just to make money for the sake of making money, right? And once again, not I'm not going to go into the whole argument of what is important, what is not, but the fact that here in New York, we have made a decision that we value that type of speculative money making more than people who go to work every day to, once again, contribute to society in all the ways that we do as New Yorkers here, I think is a problem. And I think that we can just say, hey, we are going to just take care of people. We are going to invest in people. We are going to ensure that the wealthy, who once again have privatized the gains of all of these policies over the years and socialize the losses, to say that, you can pay your fair share. And once again, we have seen through policy that this is not going to organically happen. So it is incumbent upon those of us who want to do better, ensure that we can truly thrive and not just eke out a meager existence, that we have to seize this future. And we can really seize this future if, as New Yorkers, we come together, we organize, we get out there, we speak to our neighbors, we speak to our friends, we get involved. Well, one of the things that we have coming up actually on in 2 Sundays on January 12th, we have the Tax the Rich 2.0 launch, and there's going to be a whole campaign around phone banking, knocking on doors, and just generally raising awareness and letting people know that here is another opportunity to really start building the type of things that we want to see. The fact that inflation has hit us hard and people are struggling to keep ahead, where families are worrying if they're going to be able to stay in their homes. Like, this does not have to be the reality of the mass of New Yorkers. And all we really have to do is work together and and ensure that our elected officials, who we have sent to Albany to represent us, to draft laws and all this other stuff, ensure that that every New Yorker is paying their fair share, and in particular the wealthy, who have gotten extra rich, particularly during the pandemic, which I think is also important to know.
Yeah, very ironic.
The richest New Yorkers, when regular New Yorkers were struggling, were losing their homes, were not able to work, were getting sick and dying in mass as a result of the pandemic of COVID-19. The richest New Yorkers had made hundreds of billions of dollars during that same period. Think about that.
Yeah. So, in other words, people are going out in January to talk to neighbors and urge their neighbors to get in touch with elected representatives in who go to Albany and vote on these 5 bills.
Yes, these 5 bills to raise revenue, but not only just to raise the revenue, but to raise the revenue so that we can invest in these pieces that will make a major difference for New Yorkers. Once again, building affordable housing, making sure that we can do something about this, the fact that the rent is too damn high, to ensure that we have childcare to help working families. And remember, childcare affects families regardless of income. This is a strategy. Like, you have kids, you gotta make sure they're taken care of, right? And making sure that that doesn't cost a fortune to do so I think is really important. With the money we could raise through these bills, we could make childcare completely free, universal for all New Yorkers, which is great.
Yeah.
And then you have the working on universal education, where we can make both CUNY and SUNY tuition free. And we can talk about, once again, building a just green transition for our future, a Green New Deal, if you would, right?
Which
Where
certainly affects everybody.
Yes, everyone. And as you mentioned earlier, for building mass transit all across New York State. This is possible if we actually raise the funds. If you're able to not only raise these funds, but use it specifically for the investment in infrastructure and the needs that people.
Well, I was saying people are going out right in early January to work on this.
Yes.
And I think there's a reason why, because why we have to get going.
Oh, yes.
Moving.
Yes, we have to get going.
What's the schedule?
Because right now, the legislative session has begun. The legislative session here in New York State is 6 weeks. I mean, 6 weeks, 6 months. Sorry, 6 months.
Yeah,
6 months. We have the executive budget, which sets the floor for what the budget's going to look like. That comes in February, and then a whole bunch of political back and forth that happens between February and March, and then finally the vote for the budget, which happens April 1st, which has to happen April 1st. So it's very important that letting everyone all over New York know that this is happening, and that it's incredibly important to pay attention to what our governor says that she's thinking of spending on, and then also being a part of this process and speaking to their legislators. When people, it's really important to know that the more New Yorkers get involved in this process, the better of a chance we have of getting this done. And to anyone who might say, oh, this never works, the fact that it worked before in 2020, just 2 years ago, is plenty of evidence that we can do it again, and we can do it better. So all we really have to truly do is once again, we have our launch on the 12th. We have events going all over. Please make sure you check us out. Check out the website. We have a website, taxtherich.ny, and you can sign up and go to the launch and get involved. We're talking to there are over 150 assembly members across New York State, 63 state senators. We have our governor. There's a lot of people to talk to, and so there is plenty of work to go around, and we can use every hand that we can, that anyone who might be getting involved. So to anyone who's watching this, who's listening, who can hear my voice, I'm hoping that you get involved, because I shared a bit about my family, but it's not just my family. It's your family. It's the families of your neighbors. It's the families of your fellow New Yorkers. Yeah. Let's make this change together.
Thank you, David, Alexis. This has been Ithaca DSA Presents. I'm Theresa Alt. Thanks for watching.